lesson, I'm going to teach you about drop D tuning. That's what I was just playing Bad Moon Rising in case you thought, gee, that sounds a little different than how I've heard it before. And that's what's cool about drop D, is that it gives new life to the songs that you've been playing for a while. It's also a really great tool for songwriters. And I'll show you one of my original songs towards the end of this video, and you can see how I use the drop D tuning. Now, most of the songs that I teach here on my channel, and probably most of the songs that you play right now if you're a beginner, are in standard tuning. E, A, D, G, B, E. And if you want to learn more about that tuning and how to tune to it, then I've got videos for that, and I'll put a link to that underneath here. But for now, we're going to focus on drop D tuning, which is just like standard tuning, except this bass note here is a D. Now right now, I've got it in standard tuning. Here's an E chord. Okay? So now I'm going to tune it down to a D. Now the way that I do it by ear, and maybe you'll be able to also. I know that the fourth string is a D, so I'm tuning down below that an octave. So can you hear how that's about an octave? Now, if you're not comfortable doing that, then do it with a tuner. Now, I'm going to check with my tuner just in case my ear is failing me right now. And oh, I'm a little sharp, so it's good I checked. So if you have a chromatic tuner, and most tuners are chromatic these days, then you should be able to find the D with your tuner. If you have a really old tuner, you may not be able to, and if not, download one of those free apps that are like everywhere. So the cool thing about drop D is now that you can play a D chord and play all of the strings. Isn't that cool? It just gives it this full open kind of sound. Normally when you play a D chord, you should only be playing the bottom 4 strings. Maybe some of you didn't know that, but now you do. Now, because you have altered this string, you have to alter some of the chord shapes that you're using. So you probably noticed in that opening sequence, instead of the G that you know, I played a different form. Because if we played this form, listen to what it would sound like. Here is how I'm doing the G. I'm putting my index finger on the bottom string, 3rd fret. I'm skipping the 4th fret and then reaching up with these 2 fingers to the 5th and 6th string at the 5th fret and playing all the strings. So that's the G. Now you probably also saw me use the same shape up here at 5 and 7. Now that's not a true A, but we can kind of fake it because this is an A here at the top, and that will work for some songs. Now, if you're playing any E chords, then you need to change that too, because now you've got a D in the top, and if you put a D in an E chord, it's going to sound nasty. So what you need to do is form the regular E, move these 2 fingers up 1 so that you're now pressing down on the 5th and 6th string, and then you put your baby finger on the string underneath those 2, and that'll give you an E chord. Same theory works for an E minor. So if you played the E minor this way, you can either do it by just playing the bottom 5 strings, or you can move these 2 fingers up, pressing down the 5th and 6th string, and then put your 3rd finger underneath it, and that'll get you to an E minor. So now what do you do with this drop D tuning now that you know it? Well, any song that you know that has a lot of D chords in it, this drop D tuning will sound fabulous. So I'm going to show you some examples. Alright, so here's Bye Bye Love, which might seem like a strange choice for drop D, but it works really well because there's a lot of D chords in it. And you'll also see that I'm altering the E chord so that it sounds good in this tuning. So here we go. Ready, and bye bye love, bye bye happiness, hello loneliness, think I'm gonna cry. Isn't that cool? So also I want to mention too that if you're playing an A chord, make sure you're only playing the bottom 5 strings. If you include this top string, it's going to sound kind of muddy. So here's Bad Moon Rising that I opened with, and I'm going to play this instead of a standard A chord. It's not technically an A chord, but because this top string is an A, it's going to work fine. So here we go. Ready, and I see a bad moon rising. I see trouble on the way. I see earthquakes and lightning. I see bad times today. Don't go around tonight. Well, it's bound to take your life. There is a bad moon on the rise. Isn't that cool? I love drop D tuning. If you want the words and the chords to any of these songs I'm teaching, I will have a link underneath this video so you can click on that. Occasionally you'll come across a song that was written in drop D tuning, and this is one of those songs. And you know what a huge Neil Young fan I am. So here's a song in drop D tuning, Harvest Moon. And I'm not really teaching the song here, I'm just showing you how the drop D tuning works in a song like this. If you want to know how to play it, I have a whole lesson on just how to play Harvest Moon, and I'll also put a link to the words and the chords underneath if you want to dive deeper into this song. So you'll notice that instead of the E minor 7th, I'm playing an E minor, and I'm altering it in the way that I showed you at the beginning of the video, and it's a little easier than trying to reach that E minor 7th. All right, here we go, Harvest Moon. The rest of those intro chords. So see how nice that drop D tuning works in this song. And you'll notice that when I hit those A chords, I was only playing the bottom 5 strings, and then when I was playing the E minor, I altered it just like I said in the beginning of this. I love using drop D tunings in my original songs, and for you songwriters, you might want to try it for the next song that you write. It just, they're so inspiring, and it brings you to a whole different place than a standard tuning does. Here's a part of one of the songs that I wrote using a drop D tuning. This is called Drive All Night. Drive All Night. You'll see that I use this form up the neck too, which is so much fun. So there you go. drop D tuning and a few songs that you can play in it. Experiment with the songs you already know, like I said earlier, as long as there's a lot of D chords and you can alter the other chords to fit with this tuning. It works amazingly well. Be sure to subscribe. There's the red button right there in the corner. You can also hit the notification bell. You won't want to miss any of my lessons. I've got over 400 here on my channel for beginning and intermediate guitar players. I also teach ukulele and mandolin. If you want to support what I do, please buy me a coffee. It's coffee.com, and I'll put the link somewhere in this frame or perhaps underneath, and it's only $3 for a coffee. I put a lot of hours into making these videos, and anything that you can do to help me is greatly appreciated. You can also support me via Patreon, and you can get a subscription for as little as $5 a month. And if you support me on Patreon, I thank you publicly. At the end of this video, you'll see a whole list of my Patreon supporters, and you can get some exclusive lessons that I give on Zoom just to Patreon supporters. Check out jamieanderson.com if you want to know more about my original music. Thanks for tuning in. It means a lot to me.